Criminal masterminds of Reddit, what is the worst crime you've gotten away with? When I was a kid I had a fascination with fire and explosives, and built a lot of little firecracker things, rocket engines, stole black powder from my dad and whatnot. When I was 19 I had a bright idea. I got a CO2 cartridge, emptied it, and filled it with gunpowder. I put a long fuse in that, and put that inside a 20 ounces Mountain Dew bottle full of gasoline. I put a cigarette on the end of the fuse, to act as a delay. A friend and I cruised around downtown looking for somewhere to put this thing. We came across an old van at the end of a quiet street with no houses nearby for quite a ways. It was a really rundown, abandoned area and I knew nobody would be near. So I put this thing on the front passenger seat, lit the cigarette, and we got in the car, and took off again. We drove down the freeway for a while, turned around, and came back to find the entire highway covered in thick, black smoke. We got close to the area and I peered over the edge of the bridge. It seemed like my design had worked. The inner charge first turned the gas into a mist, then ignited it, pushing everything out, turning the whole van into one big engine cylinder. The hood was laying 15 feet away, the windows were all blown out, and the van was on fire from bumper to bumper. We got out of there, drove up to the bluffs, where we could see it. We watched a whole lot of firefighters work on this van for the better part of an hour. It was quite an adrenaline rush. I made the mistake of telling a couple other friends about it, people I definitely should not have trusted. Not long after that they and I got into a disagreement about something, and next thing I know, I'm on the phone with the police. They want me and my girlfriend to come down to the station to talk. So we go to the police station. They had received a tip that I was the one who set the fire. They questioned my girlfriend and I for 4 hours. Eventually they mentioned a detective who was a longtime friend of the family, who told them I had always had an interest in bomb making and such. I confessed. The cops came to my apartment and turned the place upside down. They ended up finding a couple of bottle rockets, a few shotgun shells, and a book on military history. I had been tipped off a day prior that this was coming, so I took everything in my place remotely bomb related, put it in a trash can, and dumped it in a porta potty 2 counties away. They brought me back to the police station for more questions. They asked me why I had chosen this particular van. I said it was because it was clearly abandoned and nobody was around for a long ways. They said, so you didn't intend to hurt anyone with this thing? I said no, of course not, I just wanted to see what it would do. They told me they weren't able to locate the owner of the van, and that it had previously been appraised at $50. They told me to go home, stay put, and expect a phone call. That was 14 years ago. I'm still waiting for the phone call. TL, doctor, I blew up a van with a homemade bomb. This one is a little bigger than the stole packs of gum posts. Am I proud I got away with it? A little, yeah. Would I have been fucked had I been caught? Yeah. I was enrolled at a university and worked for them as well. A benefit of employment was they paid my tuition. Everything was great for about a year and a half, then boom, the area I worked in at the university was bought by an outside organization. Lucky for me, the school agreed to grandfather me in and continue to offer me free tuition. However, the paperwork had to be done differently. Instead of just applying tuition cost to the accounting books for an employee, they now had to have the school bill / invoice the tuition to me. I would submit the invoice to administration and they would cut me a check, and then I use the check to pay the bill. Well, before a spring semester I decided that I wanted to pursue something that would not allow me to continue my education for some time, so I took it off. At the same time I was living by myself and finances were really tight, got into some major CC debt. So I concocted a plan to forge an old full invoice from my school. The school's invoice was very basic because they created it specifically for the employee / students in my department. Simple Word document. I simply changed the dates and submitted it. A few weeks later I have a check from the school for $3,000. Instead of using it to pay the university for classes that I never took, I used it to live on for the next few months. When I was 12, I walked into a large Target-like store with my brother, grabbed the nicest bike we could find, walked it up to customer service counter, and asked to return the bike my brother got for his birthday. They asked if we had a receipt, to which we replied no. They apologized and said we needed to go home and get the receipt before we could return it. We asked if we were going to be able to leave the store with the bike if we didn't have a receipt. In response, they called security over to escort us safely out with the bike. It was too easy. Taken from my post in the most disgusting thing you have ever done thread. I'm sure this is some sort of crime. Apologies in advance for this being long. We have a big outdoor music festival here every year that is in a large park downtown. They also shut down the streets around it as well as use the civic center right by the park. When I was 17 we went like my then GF, and I did every year. Well, it was the last day of the event, and it was coming to an end on Sunday night. As we were sitting in front of the stage for one of the last acts, I get the ever so dreadful churning and gargling in my stomach that I always know is going to end in diarrhea. The porta potties are about football field away, and they always had long lines, so I decided to tough it out since I was about to head home. It progressed further to the point that I'm starting to sweat and getting sharp pains as we begin packing up and walking out. I have to walk about 4 blocks over to a parking garage where I and her family, are parked. So we get there, I'm clenching trying to hold it together, and she is doing the usual drawn out teenage goodbye which feels like eternity. Finally she leaves, and I head up to the middle deck, about 3 floors up, they were on the bottom, to my car. As I walk toward my car she calls my phone and informs me she has my keys still, were in her purse, and to come back down and get them. Now, at this point it has rapidly progressed to the point I'm penguin walking around this parking garage about to lose the good fight. I get back down and get my keys, she draws out the "I love you, I'll miss you, blah blah blah" again, and I'm about to just run away. She leaves and I think maybe I can get back in and just hold it till I get to the porta potty. No dice, since the event was over, they wouldn't let anyone back in. I make it back to the garage, dripping buckets of sweat, having to stop every 10 feet or so to clinch and wait for the all temporary clear. There is no public elevator in this garage, so I'm between floors, in the stairwell, when it's game time. Nothing could hold it back. It was if someone had kicked me in the stomach and there was no holding back. I fling my pants/boxers off, and the most horrible chunky liquid spews out. There is so much of it that it starts running down the stairs and all of a sudden clicks. The door on the bottom floor, 2 flights of stairs below me, open. I quickly wipe my bottom with my boxers and throw my pants back on. As I'm entering my floor's door I hear OMFG, OMG OMG OMG, WTF. I hop in my car and take off. Flash forward to the next day. We are sitting around watching TV, and they run a news story about the event. Apparently the doorway I lost it at was also the floor that has the entrance to the mayor's office. They are looking for the vandals and there may be a reward for any information. At this point, being 17, I'm freaking out thinking, what if cameras saw me, what if they saw my car, and start questioning people, what if they DNA test the poo. My GF is utterly disgusted at the story and thinks people like that should be put down. A few days later, I get a call from the police department that I need to come down to the station. I'm of course freaking out, immediately turn pale white according to my mom. We make it down to the station and I'm at the point of being in tears thinking I'm going to jail. Turns out they had recovered my stolen car stereo that was stolen a few months back. They just needed me to sign off on it. Not a major crime, but it's interesting to me. When I was 18, 32 now, I got arrested for shoplifting at a hardware store. I was into drugs, broke, needed money, so I was taking things to return later for cash. They let you do that at the time without a receipt. I got caught stuffing items behind my belt by an off-duty cop who was in the aisle next to me looking through the cracks. As I walked out of the store, security nabbed me, and more cops came. Cops had me standing with my hands on a table by the main entrance while they talked to the manager. They had already discovered about $40 worth of items I had taken, but when they were asking me to unload the items, I unloaded all but one. A $200 thermostat or something. Anyway, as I was standing there at the table with the whole store watching me from behind, I very discreetly reached over and pulled it out of my belt, stuck it between my thighs, and wiggled it slowly down my legs all the way to my feet, and kicked it off to the side. Somehow, nobody saw it. That little feat was the difference between a Class C misdemeanor, theft under $50, and a Class B, a difference of about $2,000 in fines, and up to 6 months of jail time, not to mention lawyer fees. Spent a few hours in city jail, got bailed out by my girlfriend, and it never went on my record. Me and 3 buddies were pulling a senior prank in high school. We snuck out to the parking lot and were removing all of the license plates from the underclassmen and administrators' cars. Our plan was to take everybody's license plate off except for seniors and throw them all in a pile at the front of the lot. We were doing pretty well when one of the basketball coaches happens to walk out and see heads bobbing between cars. I heard him scream and I dove under a truck. All 3 of my buddies got caught and had to spend 2 weeks in alternative school while I got away scot-free. That was the beginning and end of my criminal career,